You're listening to Systemic Error Podcast. The failure was designed.
Inside the trillion-dollar cost of Trump's lies, based on an article by Terry H. Chaudhry. Trump's lies are not noise, they are the operating system. The source of the damage. The reporting points to a familiar pattern. The Justice Department dropped criminal vandalism charges against Olympian David Hearn after the supposed damage at the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pools turned out to be a botched paint job, not a crime. Trump still insisted there had been extensive vandalism, then turned around and attacked his own appointee, U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro, when the story stopped serving him. That is the basic structure here. Facts do not correct power. Power revises facts until they fit the story. Who actually decides? Trump is not merely misstating events in some harmless, semantic sense. He is setting the narrative for agencies that answer to him, and those agencies then absorb the cost of carrying it out. The Justice Department, the White House, the Pentagon, and Congress are all part of the same chain of compliance in the source material. Trump speaks, his appointees echo or rationalize, and institutions act as if the lie deserves a policy response. That is why this is not just personal dishonesty. It is executive control over public reality. When a president can announce truth without evidence and keep institutions moving around it, the lie becomes governance. The point is not confusion. The article's framing occasionally treats this as a vast civic disease of spin and misstatement, but that softens the central fact. Trump's falsehoods are deliberate instruments. They are used to justify repression, obscure failure, and manufacture enemies. The source itself names the pattern plainly enough. Invented election rigging schemes, fake claims about prices, falsehoods about undocumented immigrants, trans athletes, late-night comedians, and supposed threats that can be inflated into an excuse for authoritarian politics. This is not a world of competing mistakes. It is a world where one side manufactures crises because crisis is politically useful. Harm, then denial. The consequences are concrete. The source ties Trump's lies to wars widened by bad claims and withheld context, to foreign aid cuts that produce death by disease and hunger, to assaults on Head Start dressed up as anti-diversity theater, and to unconstitutional expansions of presidential power that Congress refuses to check. Pete Hegseth's account of strikes in Iran may be factually narrow, but the larger claim around it is strategic fraud, a partial truth used to hide an ongoing conflict. The same applies to the Epstein files discussion and to Trump's habit of changing the story whenever the first version stops working. The method is consistent. First comes the false premise. Then comes the administrative damage. Then comes the denial that anyone should call it what it is. Congress chose weakness. The source asks why Congress, courts, and the public tolerate this. The answer is not mystery. It is cowardice, normalization, and a political class that keeps pretending institutional restraint will emerge from a man who profits from institutional collapse. Congress, especially the Republican majority mentioned here, is not being tricked. It is refusing to perform the one job it has: stop the damage. That refusal matters. A government can survive bad rhetoric. It cannot survive permanent deference to a president who treats evidence as optional and law as theater. What this story really shows, the deeper pattern is not simply that Trump lies. It is that he has built a politics in which lying is the bridge between grievance and power. Each fabricated threat justifies a new abuse. Each abuse is then defended as necessary. Each failure is recast as someone else's sabotage. That is how authoritarian politics works in plain sight, not with one grand falsehood, but with a steady stream of smaller ones that train institutions, journalists, and the public to accept the next lie as the cost of doing business. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to Alternet for today's article. With the automated voice of Lesak, thanks for listening.